Hi friends, in this part we will discuss today the types of succession. Types of succession. Types of succession. In our previous video lecture, we discussed whole thing about succession. What is succession? What are various characteristics of succession? What is, pioneer community? What's climax community? What are transitional communities? Are serial communities? So today, आज का जो हमारा topic है, what are the types of succession? In order to define the types of succession जो होते हैं ना, these depend on the site and the conditions of the site. We can divide succession into two types when we take into consideration the condition of the site where this succession is going to take place. What is the condition of site? If the site where succession is going to place has soil or it has not soil, जहां पे सक्सेशन होना है, ये साइट कैसी है? इस साइट पे सॉइल है, इस एरिया पे सॉइल है, इस रीजन पे सॉइल है या नहीं है? इस बिना पे हम लोग सक्सेशन को दो टाइप्स में डिवाइड करते हैं. नंबर वन, प्राइमरी सक्सेशन. प्राइमरी सक्सेशन. Number two, secondary succession. Secondary succession. Okay. Now let us discuss what is primary succession. Primary succession. Primary succession. Primary succession occurs on barren, which is totally, empty, soilless, right? Uninhabited region. Uninhabited region, when I say uninhabited region, a region which has not previously been occupied by any living organism. We call this type of succession as primary succession. It's that type of succession which takes place on barren, soilless, uninhabited region, which is just bare. Which is just bare. It has not soil, it is soilless. It has no organic matter. No organic matter. This thing we call as primary succession. अगर वो जगह पे ecological succession हो जाए, जो जगह इससे पहले succession होने से पहले उस पे अनइनहैबिटेटेड था, उस पे कोई लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म रहता नहीं था, वो एरिया जो जिसमें सॉइल नहीं है, वो एरिया जिसमें ऑर्गेनिक मैटर नहीं है, अगर इस रीजन पे सक्सेशन हो जाएगा, दिस इज नोन एज प्राइमरी सक्सेशन. एंड दिस प्राइमरी सक्सेशन इज वेरी चैलेंजिंग. इट इज वेरी हार्ड to have a primary succession on an area. उस जगह पे प्राइमरी सक्सेशन करवा देना, उस जगह पे प्राइमरी सक्सेशन होना बहुत मुश्किल है, बिकॉज हम उस एक जगह पे प्राइमरी सक्सेशन का प्रोसेस करवाना चाहते हैं. नेचर उस जगह पे प्राइमरी सक्सेशन करता है जो बिल्कुल which is not fit for living, which has already been uninhabited, यहाँ पे किसी ने अभी तक लाइफ लिव नहीं की है, जिसमें सॉइल नहीं है, जिसमें ऑर्गेनिक मैटर नहीं है, तो ये चैलेंजिंग है प्राइमरी सक्सेशन, बिकॉज it takes many thousands of years. Primary succession can take place 1000 years to 2000 years. Right? 1000 years to 2000 years. Now, let's compare this primary succession with secondary succession. Secondary succession takes place on an area, उस जगह पे ये secondary succession होता है, which was earlier inhabited. Previously it was having plants or animals, but somehow it was disturbed by calamities like volcanic eruption, floods, earthquake. It has soil. It has soil. So secondary succession is very easy and it can be completed without any difficulties, because this area where secondary succession takes place was earlier inhabited by plant communities, biotic communities, animals, but because of some catastrophes, because of some calamities, this was disturbed, this area. So compared to primary succession, secondary succession is easy to be completed. And it's the reason why it takes lesser time. Secondary succession takes very less time as compared to primary succession. Because things for growth of plants or animals on the site where secondary succession is to take place are a bit favorable, because there is already soil, because there is already organic matter, because there has been living organisms earlier. So comparatively it is easy. Comparatively it's completed in a lesser time. If we compare the secondary succession with the primary succession, it takes just 50 to 100 years to regenerate a grassland in secondary succession, or it can take just 200 to 300 years to regenerate or form a forest through secondary succession. These are two different types of successions, primary succession and secondary succession. Now let us go sit-ups in ecological succession. What sit-ups are there in ecological succession, whether it is a primary succession or whether it is secondary succession, whether it is a dry area or aquatic ecosystem, aquatic area, water area. Sit-ups of ecological succession are same. अगर हम इकोलॉजिकल सक्सेशन की बात करते हैं, अगर ये ड्राई एरिया पे है, अगर ये डेजर्ट में है, अगर ये रॉक पे है, सैंड पे है, या अगर ये इकोलॉजिकल सक्सेशन वाटर में है, sit-ups of ecological succession are same irrespective of the place, habitat where this succession takes place, right? The first sit-up in ecological succession is nudation. Nudation. Right? Nudation is the first sit-up of ecological succession. What does this nudation mean? Nudation means to create an area for ecological succession. हमने एक area create करना है for ecological succession, such as a rock, such as a devastated land on which there was a forest first. Because of disturbances, this forest was wiped out. We call this sit-up of ecological succession as nudation, because first we have to create the area for succession. How it is created? It can be created by, natural calamities, man-made calamities, such as volcanic eruption, floods, earthquake, forest fires. This is first setup, that is nudation. Once the area has been created, okay? Now, second setup is invasion. Now, suppose this was an area, okay? It was created, it's a bare rock. Let us say this is bare rock. This bare rock was created because of volcanic eruption. Right? Now, this process of formation of an area where ecological succession is to take place is known as nudation. Now, this area which has been created by the process of nudation, it is to be invaded. Those living organisms which invade this area are known as first settlers or pioneer communities. This area is now invaded by the first settlers, the pioneer plants and animals, pioneer communities. How these invade? They invade this area. They come to this area in the form of seeds, in the form of spores, which can be carried to this area by wind. Wind is यहाँ पे ले जा सकता है, which can be carried to this area by water, which can be carried to this area by animals. Right? Now, next setup was the invasion. The area which was created because of nudation, now it is invaded. By whom? The first settlers or pioneer communities. By which way? By the way of seeds, spores. Who can take these seeds and spores? There are various agencies. Water can take these seeds and spores to this area. Animals can take these seeds and spores to the area. Wind can take these seeds and spores to the area, right? This is next step, invasion. Now, third step of ecological succession. In third step, we see this is establishment. Now, here we have the spores. We have the seeds. Now, these spores and seeds, try to germinate. They germinate and they form, they grow, they germinate and they form, pioneer community. They get established in this area. What does that mean? That means they try to grow, they try to reproduce. And this establishment setup in, ecological succession depends upon the climatic factors, climate of the substratum, right? जितना substratum में climate favorable होगा, उतना biotic communities के लिए establish होना easy होगा, right? Now in third setup, first settlers, pioneer community, start to, grow, establish, depending upon the climatic factors in this area. This is third step. Now let us go for fourth step. Then comes the aggregation. Aggregation is the fourth step in the ecological succession. During aggregation, the established plants, biotic communities, right? They just increase in number by undergoing reproduction. Now, in establishment setup, also these first settlers, pioneer community showed reproduction, but here in the fourth setup, aggregation, now they are well established. They now, reproduce freely. And as a result of reproduction, they increase their number. And now they come close to each other. Now they come to live in an association. This setup is known as aggregation. This setup is known as aggregation. Are you getting me? Okay. Now, let's come to the fifth point. Fifth step. In fifth step, Now there is competition. Competition in this area. Now many, biotic communities have been formed because of reproduction. Now these biotic communities have begun to live in association. They now show close association between them. They have now formed groups. They live in groups. This is known as aggregation. Now in the fifth step, there is competition. The competition may be both interspecific and intraspecific. In interspecific competition, there is a competition of individuals of different species. And in intraspecific competition, there is competition between individuals of same species. I have already told you in my previous video lecture about interactions among living organisms. We have already learned about negative interactions, positive interactions. So in the fifth step of ecological succession, now competition occurs. Competition can be both intraspecific and interspecific, right? And during this competition, we see that weaker and unstable species are eliminated. Weaker and unstable species are eliminated. This is fifth step. Now let us go for sixth step. Sixth step is the stabilization or climax. It's also called as climax. During this step, now those communities, those living organisms which have undergone the test of competition, now they want to try to stabilize in the area, and they want to settle permanently. They want to settle stably in this area, right? This is known as stabilization because it's the final step in ecological succession, right? And the organisms which stable in an area, which become stable in an area, which stabilize themselves in an area, they are known as climax communities. Climax communities. Climax communities. Climax communities. Climax communities, right? And this stage or this step of ecological succession is known as climax stage or climax, step. The climax community is in equilibrium with the changes in the environment. एक एरिया में जहां पे इकोलॉजिकल सक्सेशन हो गया, वहां पे जो हमारे क्लाइमेक्स कम्युनिटी के मेंबर्स हैं स्टेबलाइज्ड है और उनको एक एनवायरनमेंट का उतना ज्यादा एनवायरमेंटल फैक्टर्स उनको ज्यादा इफेक्ट इसलिए नहीं करते क्योंकि दे आर इन इक्विलिब्रियम विद दीज एनवायरमेंटल चेंज, एनवायरमेंटल फैक्टर्स. These are setups how this ecological succession occurs. Okay, now let us discuss the primary succession on a bare rock or desert. Primary succession. Let me write with this: primary succession on a bare rock or desert. This is 5-star important question. Board usually asks this question in many exams. It's very important, ultra important question, right? We are discussing this primary succession on a bare rock or desert. Okay, you see, primary succession on a bare rock or desert is very hard to achieve. Why? Because the rock is soilless, it doesn't have soil. Okay, the rock is without organic matter, right? the rock is without water, right? So it's very hard for settlers, pioneer community to settle here, because this area, this bare rock where primary succession is to take place, the environment is very harsh, because there is no soil, and there is no soil, there is no water holding capacity, right? There is no water, there is no organic matter. So, very difficult, but still it occurs. It may take years together. It may take 1,000 to 2,000 years for primary succession to get completed on a bare rock or a desert, but still it occurs. It's a very slow process, but it occurs. Okay. When, a primary succession takes place on rock, this is known as lithosphere. 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 When it occurs on dry area, this is known as, other than, rock, it occurs on desert, it's known as xerosphere. Right? When it occurs on sand, it's known as samosphere. Right? So, this primary succession proceeds on a rock from one stage to the other stage. It has many stages. What are the stages of primary succession? Let me tell you. The first stage of primary succession is the lichen stage. Let us discuss lichen stage. Lichen stage. This is the first stage of primary succession on a rock. One. Number two stage is the moss stage. Moss stage. Number third stage is the animal grass stage. Animal grass stage. Animal grass stage. Right? This is third stage of primary succession on a rock. Fourth is perennial grass stage. Perennial grass stage. Right? Fifth stage is the shrub stage. Shrub stage. Right? Sixth stage is the tree stage or climax stage. Tree stage or climax stage. Climax community. Climax stage. These are the stages of primary succession on a rock or a desert. If we have to see the primary succession on a rock, the succession has to go through these stages. The first stage is the lichen stage, then comes the moss stage, then comes the animal grass stage, then comes the perennial grass stage, then comes the shrub stage, then comes tree stage or climax stage. Let's discuss these stages one by one. Okay, let's come to the, lichen stage. Lichen stage. आपको ये हैरानी होगी कि अगर आपसे ये कोई पूछे कि ये जो बड़ी बड़ी आप फॉरेस्ट्स देखते हैं, when you go to a health resort, whether it is Pahalgaon or this Gulmarg, when you see forests, just imagine those forests were once mountains. वो पहाड़ जैसे थे, ऐसे चट्टानें जैसी थी, and they have now converted into this forest. Because they have, for thousands of years, hundreds of years, they have undergone through these stages. And it's the reason why it takes so many years. To make a forest, you have to wait for 2,000 years. We not, you or me not, people have to wait. Generations have to wait to see the forests becoming again, if they are destroyed. Right? Let's come to the first stage. Suppose this is a rock. Okay? This rock has been formed by volcanic eruption. Right? So, now this rock has to support life. What happens if there is a heavy dew? If there is rain, soon after the rain, or have it due? Propagules of lichens. Lichens के जो reproducing particles होते हैं, उनको बोलते हैं lichen propagules. You might have, heard about those Soredia, Soredia, Soredia in lichens, in which many algal cells, it's a structure in which many algal cells are covered by fungal cells. And these are carried by winds. These are wind-borne. And these wind-borne lichen propagules, lichen reproductive bodies, they are carried by wind and they fall on this rock. Okay? They fall on this rock. Because, so lichens are the, pioneer community here. Because only lichens can grow. Because lichens grow in inhospitable environments, uninhabited environments, harsh environments. It's the reason why somebody may pose me a question, somebody may ask me, sir, why are you telling that lichens came here? Why not bryophytes? Why not pteridophytes? Why not the seeds or spores of some other plants? Why only lichens? Those plants, the spores of those plants do visit these places, but they fail to germinate, fail to establish, because the environment they require is not there on the rock. When lichens come by different agencies, they settle here. ठीक है ना? Wet rocks पे ये गिर जाते हैं. Propagules, जिनको Soredia कहते हैं. These are spore-like structures, right? And then, what happens? These lichens secrete. First they get, attached. These Soredia, just tries to grow. It grows. And meanwhile, these lichens get attached with, a rock. Substratum. Here, the substratum is the rock. Because they have attaching structures. Those structures which help them to attach to something. Those are known as rhizines. Rhizines. Right? And there are many types of lichens. Somebody may ask me which type of lichen first falls on this. There are crustose lichens. We can talk of 3 types of lichens. Crustose, foliose lichens, number 2, and fruticose lichens. These are fruticose lichens. Fruticose lichens. Fruticose lichens. Crustose lichens, foliose lichens, and fructose lichens. Crustose lichens are crust-like. They are just like crust. The crust of earth, when we see. These crustose lichens, they have attaching structures. Because they are tightly bound to the, substratum. Those attaching structures, we can't call them roots. Don't call them roots. But they just help these crustose lichens so that these crustose lichens can bound themselves very tightly to the substratum. Why? Because they have, structures, attaching structures, those are known as rhizines. Okay. Now, lichens came in the form of spores. Spores just germinated, right? They formed lichens. Which type of lichens? Crustose lichens. Because crustose lichens have the attaching structures, those are known as rhizines, right? And they get attached with it. And these crustose lichens, then these crustose lichens, secrete acids. What? Lichenic acid. Right? They also secrete carbonic acid. Okay? Because of these acids, this rock gets to corrode. When it begins to corrode, minerals are released. Minerals begin to be released from this mineral. These minerals, now favor the growth of another type of, lichen. That's known as foliose lichens. These lichens are not tightly bound to this, substratum. These lichens are leaf-like, right? These lichens are leaf-like. These lichens are flat. It's the difference between crustose lichens and foliose lichens. I said that crustose lichens are, they are crest-like. They have attaching structures known as izenes. They are bound to the substratum tightly, right? Now, once these, crustose lichens secrete, acids like lichenic acid, carbonic acid, they just corrode the, this rock. As a result, minerals begin to release, and those released minerals now, favor the growth of foliose lichens. And once these, corrosion starts to take place, a thin layer of soil begins to be formed. ये बनना शुरू हो जाता है, ठीक है? Ultimately, foliose lichens are replaced by fruticose lichens. This is another type of lichens. These are a bit standing, right? These are a bit standing. ये खड़ा रहते हैं, right? These are a bit branched. इनके कुछ branches होते हैं. So with the result, the first settlers, pioneer community, after growing, now this is now the environment, the changes which take place in the rock, they have created a thin layer of soil, right? This is now very unfavorable for them, and this environment is favorable to some other plants. Now you see second stage, mass stage. Now mass stage. What happens in this stage? Now masses try to settle on this. Masses are bryophytes, Masses are of many types. There are liverworts, there are hornworts, there are mosses. These are different types of bryophytes, right? Now these masses begin to develop, establish in the area, right? These mosses, when they start to grow here, they are taller than lichens, and because of their shade, because they are taller, they are shadier. They have shade than these lichens. This shade kills the lichens. This shade kills lichens, and once these lichens are killed, right, the dead, organic matter of their, bodies, dead bodies, this initiates the soil formation. This initiates, once the corroding of the rock was the first setup. Now this setup gets stronger because now the lichens are dead, and their dead bodies add to the organic matter of the soil. These are the setups how soil forms. Now the moss stage has reached. Masses are longer. Masses are gregarious. Masses grow in association. Masses grow in clusters. Masses grow in interwoven, style, associations, and they are taller. Because of these, characteristics of masses, they kill the lichens, and dead bodies of lichens add to the organic matter. Now the thin layer of soil, which had begun to form in lichen stage, now this gets a bit, thicker, a bit thicker. It begins to become thick. Okay? And on the other hand, if we have a soil, it must have fertility. What use we have of a soil which is without this fertility? Why from this fertility will come? This will come from humus, Why from this humus will come? This is just dead organic matter of living organism. So, these lichens, when they die, now the soil has been formed. It gets thicker. It gets a bit fertilizing, more fertile, because of addition of their dead bodies. Okay. Now these masses trying to establish themselves, right? Now the soil has, formed thicker than in lichen stage, right? Now the soil shows more water holding capacity, right? Now the soil is has more fertility, I mean to say, than lichen stage. And ultimately, these masses get killed. Now they need little soil. Once the soil increases, once the fertility of soil increases, right? Once the water amount increases, now these are the conditions which are not fit for masses. These are the conditions which are now fit for some other organisms. As a result, these masses die. These masses die. Now, and their dead bodies add more organic matter to the soil. Now, we have in third stage, now, annual grass stage. Annual grass stage. Now, we have in the second stage, a soil, a rock with a bit thicker soil as compared to lichen stage, a bit more fertile as compared to lichen stage, a bit more, humid as compared to the lichen stage. Now, these type of habitats favor the growth of, annual grasses. Now, on this rock, growth of annual grasses starts. This is the reason why this is known as annual grass stage. The roots of annual grass stages now come here on this substratum, and now they germinate. Okay? These germinate and they form annual grasses. These annual grasses grow for some time. Ultimately, they die. They add organic matter. Annual grasses may have rooted annual grasses. Once they have roots, these roots try to, penetrate deeper into the levels of the rock. More cracks are formed. More weathering takes place. Soil gets, thicker with every passing step. So this is the, help which annual grasses provide to the succession. These are rooted, these, grow, these then die. Before dying, they penetrate their roots into the rocks, making more cracks into the rocks, So, ultimately, these annual grasses die. Once they die, they add dead organic matter to the soil. More weathering has taken place. Weathering has taken place because of their roots. And now these are replaced by perennial grasses. This is known as perennial grass stage. Perennial grasses. Right? Perennial grasses now try to establish themselves on this area. Perennial grasses, those grasses which grow for many years, such as Cynodon dactylon, they spread more into the substratum by those rhizomes and runners. Modification of stem, you might have heard in your previous classes. Once these perennial grasses established on the habitat on an area, they spread by their rhizomes and by their runners. As a result, they cause more more breakdown of the rock. As a result, these perennial grasses, they ultimately die. Once they die. They add organic matter. They are replaced by now shrubs. It's the reason why this is known as shrub stage. Right? These are, replaced by shrub stages. Up to now, we have reached to shrub stages. Only difference at this stage is that now the soil is more fertile. Now the soil is more thicker, right? And now we have reached to the shrub stage. Now shrubs start to grow. Shrubs start to grow, such as if I will Ziziphus, Chinese apple. This shrub starts to grow. It makes soil, this substratum more vulnerable to weathering, corroding, and as a result, further the cracking, weathering of rock takes place, and ultimately these shrubs die, and the organic matter gets added to this, soil, which is in formation, right? And these shrubs are finally, replaced by trees. It's the reason why this is known as tree stage. And these trees make the atmosphere cool. These are big trees. They make the environment cool by transpiration, right? They are, more taller. They are more shadier. Now they are in equilibrium with the changing environmental conditions. The changing environmental conditions don't affect them, and they settle. They become the final, communities, right? So these are known as climax communities. Nature of the climax community, which type of it depends upon the climate. Suppose if the climate is, rainy, then too cool, then rainforests will be formed, right? Evergreen forests will be formed, right? Deciduous forests will be formed. It's the way how this whole thing occurs. If I will just recap stages of, primary succession on, bare rock. First stage is the lichen stage. Then comes the, mass stage. Then comes annual, grass stage. Then comes perennial grass stage. Then comes shrub stage. And then comes the tree stage, which is the final stage, which is also known as climax community. Okay? Hope you will have understood primary succession on a bare rock. Tomorrow we will discuss primary succession in water. Thank you. Till then, bye.